What is the worst thing you would wish on your worst enemy? Live long, but don't prosper. Damn. Live in an infinite loop of living briefly then dying horribly. This is Golden Wind Requiem. I always feel like people who say I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy must not hate their worst enemy as much as I do. That guy. Yes, exactly. He just walked up and said fry tax. And took a handful from my fry platter. Who does that? That is why I do not seek his apologies. But instead I seek his children, his flesh and blood, and his family. He will see his home torched. I will disinter the corpses of his ancestors and use their husks as kindling for the pyre. And so I will have him cast into the flames and be annihilated with his progenitors. And when the fire cools I will have his children crush their father's bones with their bare feet, then carry off his bone dust into the desert without food or water to spread both his bones and thighs into the forgotten wastes. And his widow will be made to disassemble the burned house and cast it and herself into the Euphrates. The only memory of him will be my stone inscription that reads I am Kala Fly Ashurbanipal King of Kings, the most beloved, as I turned all my enemies into nothing but the echoes of screams, to serenade my eternal sleep. That they realize what they've done. Edit. It makes me hopeful for humanity that this is my most liked reply ever. Anyone reading this, I'd love for you to go through my post history and let me know any points that you disagree with about life. And feel it. Like actually feel guilty. My sister's boyfriend at the time gaslighted and verbally her, and after she broke up with him, he broke into her apartment and her. I wish he finds someone he loves, really loves, not that the guy is capable of feeling real love, and that person causes him as much pain and suffering as he caused my sister. I think that would be the only way he could realize what he did to her. We had a huge bully in our office, like 6'6", 275 pounds big, and he was such a to everyone male and female, always throwing his weight around, always making fun of everyone physically, looks, skinny/fat, etc. Well, he got Bell's palsy for 6 months and looked like a troll. He hid in his office scared for 6 months. I didn't wish it on him, and I doubt he actually learned anything from it, or became a nicer person, but it was sure nice not dealing with his for 6 months. So MG Bell's palsy was bad. I had it twice, left side 1 month, then a few months later, the right side. It is hard to eat a sandwich or ramen when half your face doesn't work. I ended up eating instant mashed potatoes and tuna for each meal for a month once. What is Bell's palsy? Sounds like a stroke you recovered from. Bell's palsy is partial paralysis of the face. There is a nerve that runs up your jawline that passes through the jawbone that controls muscles for the upper and lower lips. From what I read, there are 3 ways this can occur. Viral causes swelling in the area of the jaw impacting the nerve. Swelling caused by an impact doing the same thing. Third, stress. The first time, I was certainly stressing out with work. Second time, stress again, but that was from having 2 wisdom teeth pulled on a Monday. The following Friday night I had so much pain I woke up the next morning with my face half frozen on that side. Every time they wiped after a dump, the toilet paper would drip on the first wipe. And they can never wash the smell off their fingers, no matter hard they try. I love that wish, not something that would particularly harm them, but would cause a lot of social embarrassment. Nah, that's not strong enough. It should be what you write plus they feel compelled to touch their face before cleaning their hand. Yes, this is for you, Ian. Ian. Horrifying story. I've kinda done this before. I was changing a baby diaper full of poop. The kid started wiggling so poop got on my hand. I finished cleaning the kid, forgot about my hand, and touched my face. Pool on my face. When I freak out I grab my hair. Guess what I grabbed? Yup. I grabbed my hair. Poop on my face, and in my hair. I was near tears when I took the kid to my husband telling him what happened and that I was taking a shower that instant. He laughed and took the baby. Being cheated on by the love of their life, 4 years on end, with their best friend, in their house, and discovering it by finding tape while making an anniversary compilation video to celebrate 15 years together. I have a feeling you might know someone who went through this, possibly. Nope. I just know being cheated on is devastating, so I thought, how could I make this worse and worse? It is eerily similar to the guy we had overseas during the Gulf War whose wife sent him a VHS tape of everyday life back home, so we all watched and enjoyed, until it went to her getting mailed from behind, and looking into the camera saying she wants a divorce. They even used it in the movie Jarhead. He was sent home. Each items of clothing they buy shrinks by one size after one wash. 1 out of every 3 is very wet. That's what I would wish for them, for the rest of their life. Is it every third or random, like they could have 2 wet ones in a row out of 6? Best to make it random, so they can't predict it. What would the interval limit be? So if somebody has 666 normal in a row, does that mean they will have 333 wet in a row afterwards? How long could this stack for? Could the person spend the last 1/3 of their life having wet that someday they see all of the negative things in themselves that I see, and they will live in agony because they can't fix themselves, but are fully aware of how they are. I think most people do realize that they are people on at least some level. I feel like you kind of have to realize on some level. Almost nobody wants to see themselves as the villain though. They probably just blame other people for acting negatively to their behavior as the issue instead of their behavior being the problem. Maybe I really do just feel bad for people like that. That's the thing about treating people poorly, not only will they get their revenge, but you manage to alienate everyone else around you in the process. Wherever they shall sleep, there will always be one single mosquito and others to replace it, if they do manage to kill it. Am I your worst enemy? Because I'm mosquito food this season. I woke up yesterday with 20 new bites. And I don't even live in a mosquito infested area. I don't think so. On a serious note, you might want to get your bed checked for bed bugs / kidding bugs / other bugs that come out when you sleep. Their bites are very similar to mosquitoes' bites. Yup, I've checked. No bed bugs, thank God, and I'm not in kissing bug territory. Mosquitoes can get bad in New York, but they usually aren't. Unresponsive wackafulness. It's the worst, harshest thing I wished on someone I hated. I didn't just want him dead, it would be too easy. Unresponsive wackafulness is a state where you are 100% conscious, but you can't move your body. Basically your consciousness is trapped in a shell. I want them to remain in the hospital as they watch as the people around them suffer, just to keep him alive as it stresses them financially and emotionally to the point where you just watch helplessly as your loved ones go from wishing you wake up to cursing you to die. Finally you hear them discuss pulling your plug as they can no longer afford to keep you alive. And as you fade into nothing, your last conscious moment is pure agony knowing you forced your loved ones to essentially live with indirectly murdering you for the rest of their lives. The worst pain someone can go through is not physical or psychological pain done to them, but physical and psychological pain done to the innocent people they care about because of them. This seems excessive, but more reasonable for an actual enemy than most of the bull I've seen in this thread. To me, an enemy is someone who must be stopped from harming you, and that you're unable to stop peacefully. Personally, I just wish death on any such person. Kidney stones. I've passed several and each one was the worst thing ever. Ever. I really wish I hadn't read this. I have a 4mm stone in my right kidney just waiting to drop. Please tell me something comforting because I'm terrified. I passed an 8mm stone naturally while in the air during the height of COVID. Luckily it broke up without the need for surgery and I was released the same day. Then I just peed out sand for a few days. That's the best case scenario. Am I a bad person for laughing at the thought of a stranger peeing sand? Hang in there, I had the same size kidney stone as yours a couple dozen times. Once it's over, it's over. And you will feel normal again. You won't have to worry about the pain, and as long as you're always hydrated and eating alright, you'll be okay. That creeping, existential dread that, no matter how hard she applies herself, or whatever compliments she got on her early academic achievements, or what her friends say, that she'll never be good enough. That people hold negative opinions, that she'll never know of. That she will always lack critical intelligence or intuition when it's needed most, regardless of her base IQ. And that after she's gone, ultimately no one will care about what she had done, and life will go on as normal for her closest loved ones days afterward. Either that or forgetting her light bill and incurring a late fee. I have a friend who got her spinal discs replaced. Thing is, they don't work through your back, they open your belly, remove everything, work on the discs, then put everything back in place. That is, as much as they can. Then it takes several days for your viscera to return to their original place, and my friend was absolutely miserable, as it hurt non-stop, and she couldn't eat anything. She said she wouldn't wish it to her worst enemy, but I'm not as merciful. My dad had 2 vertebrae in his neck fused. He has this scar across the front of his neck that looks like someone tried to give him a Colombian necktie. They literally slit him from one ear to the other. I didn't realize they did this for all the other parts of your spine as well. Ugh. I wish them the worst in life. They deserve every bad thing that happens and has ever happened in their worthless life. I hope they suffer the most unimaginable pain in their life that can be felt by the human body. Who hurt you? It was an from work at my college campus who threatened to hurt my female best friend who I've known since middle school. He tried to claim that she punched him in the face for no reason. She didn't, and then threatened to hurt her. I threatened him back saying that I was gonna beat his worthless so bad that he was gonna have to learn to walk and talk again if he laid a hand on her. He stopped with his threats after that, but I made sure he was bullied at work every day by everybody until he finally quit his job. I hope he's suffering now. For them to receive 15 to 20 spam calls a day. Not too much, but enough to where it's a problem. And a new phone/service provider doesn't fix the problem. I've started answering them with Caller 6, you are live on the air for $15,000. What was the name of the song we just played? I actually was cussed out by a telemarketer last week and I wasn't even being a smart. He took the phone from the foreign girl I was talking to and asked if I had anything better to do than mess with people to make my friends laugh. I was by myself driving to work LMAO. I just go with chill jo, guy chode. That's Hindi for bugger yourself, cow. I'm on there, don't pick up when she presses 1 to speak to the scam artists list. That one disease that makes you a vegetable where you're fully aware of everything, yet you can do nothing. You get put into a home. Every day you have people caring for you. Your spouse and or child come to visit you every day, but that turns to every week, then every month. You have no control, so the caregivers sit you in front of a TV that plays nothing but toddler shows for 8 hours. You're stuck there in a wheelchair as your life slowly slips by, watching your children grow up and eventually everyone forgets about you. You're stuck there watching TV every day, getting fed through a tube, and maybe the nurse forgets to change your diaper or turn you over in your bed. Eventually you too slip away as your mind turns mush. I ensure that they have empathy and force them to feel all that they have inflicted on me, since we have met with the knowledge that they are feeling what they have done to another human. And then they get to keep feeling this, but for everyone, going forwards. Can't be a good person? Well, you're going to get a practical lesson in do unto others as you would have them do unto you, cause you're going to feel it now. You are. Never again a leaf they step on is crunchy. Never will you hear the satisfaction of a crunch. Nor will you ever mow the lawn and have a single section left exactly the width of the lawnmower. Your grass will be itchy and your flowers will be dollar weed. Pine cones deformed and gumballs plenty. This is Yada's curse, and I wish it on all my greatest foes. Immortality and invulnerability, without eternal youth. An eternal life spent mostly dealing with the crippling effects of old age, watching everyone they care about die before them, and then outliving the planet. All while they are completely unable to end their suffering. I didn't wish it on my enemy, but I really disliked one of my friend's exes. Turns out after she started running across the border using her kids to pretend to be a vacationing family in Mexico. Then she started getting turned out in TJ by one of the cartels. No one's seen her since. I feel very mad about it. I wish they'd grow to realize and regret their terrible behavior. Doesn't sound bad, but have you ever lay awake at night, remember that cringy or thing you did in the past when you were different, because that's the real torture. That and it makes the world a better place blah blah blah. Happiness. Typically when someone is an absolute and you match that with a smile and wish them the best, it leaves them speechless and with no recourse whatsoever. Plus, the affirmation of their absolute insignificance will haunt them and ultimately crush any chance they ever had of obtaining that happiness in the first place, so you win both ways. You ever heard of 1000 cuts torture? They used it as a execution method on China, banned by 1900. I wish him that, but I wish him worse. I want lemon and salt rubbed on every single one of them. I want fezzes inside some cuts, others filled with flesh-eating maggots. I want him to get all of that, then a doctor to patch him up before dying, because I want him to get a repeat. Deserve pity and certainly don't deserve decency, and I want my to feel all that every moment of his rotten existence. Every nerve in their body firing up in pain as their nails are pulled, and their teeth also flare up in pain and their skin slowly peels off, and their eyelashes and hair are also pulled hard and acid is forced down their throat, and he has hundreds of kidney stones coming out every second and the person won't die until all the skin is off, and 50 hours of the kidney stones are past. I'm going to put this behind a spoiler tag. I don't want to cause anyone to have psychological issues. I'm not going to sit here and go TW/CW for blah blah blah. I'm a horror author, and that is your TW/CW. If you have psych stuff going on, this post might cause you some issues. No slam to people that do. I have some serious stuff going on myself. I would wish my enemy to have happened to them the things that live upon my pages. Among these, razor blades jammed between the teeth and then driven home with a ball-peen hammer. Genitals painted with hydrofluoric acid, then left out in the Arizona desert at midday in July. Every knuckle on their fingers and toes cracked with a nutcracker. Binding wrists and ankles with wet rawhide, stake them out in the sun with a gallon bottle of water where they can see it, but out of their reach. Flay them and make them eat their own skin. Scaphism, look that up. Don't do so if insects or a combination of both will gross you out. Slow electrocution. Trust me, it's worse than going out with a bang, which is what actually being electrocuted usually sounds like due to the superheating of air. Severe exposure to ionizing radiation, positioned in a way where they have to watch their own deterioration in a mirror. These are just the ones that come immediately to mind. I'm a monster. Immortality. Hey. It's me, your worst enemy. So you want to live through the eons watching friends and family die. And when the sun and world explode, or whatever, and then to forever drift through the void of space alone, suffocating, freezing, without the relief of death. Never being able to see what happens next, to never find out if you will see your loved ones again in the afterlife. If so, then sure I want you to have immortality. Yes. I've already watched loved ones die, so it's not like that gets avoided by dying myself. I love living, and I love seeing how time unfolds. You could call it FOMO, but I generally hate the idea that I won't be around to experience 100 years from now, or 1000 years from now, etc. If I could drift through space without dying, I think that might be cool too. I don't believe in an afterlife, so that's not a factor for me. You think it'd be fun for a few thousand years, maybe, sure, maybe even tens of thousands of years. But it's forever. No matter what you experience, you will eventually forget all about it. Not just the people you love or hate, but people at all. You'll forget what it's like to feel the sun, you'll forget what things taste like, you'll forget what light and darkness look like. You'll forget English entirely, so you will have thoughts, but all philosophy will be void upon you, long before entropy even occurs. which you will have to somehow exist through, effectively being a paradox entirely. If this sounds appealing to you, then I'd recommend you get into some serious meditation. Like the real because this is the goal of it. Not the Western ways of doing it, but like the real hard where you cry and become enraged for the first few months that you try to do it. After you let go of all of that, being in the true silence of existence and non-existence, effectively ridding yourself of duality, that's what it feels like apparently. Oh, where do I begin? Firstly, they are in a car, married for 7 years, but then their only child starts crying because they want a new console, but then their significant other asks for a divorce. Car crash. Others in the car die, but not the one I hate. They were very worried and landed on a pile of cockroaches. One entered in their mouth while still awake, then wake up in a hospital, discover their mother died of a heart attack caused by strong sadness because they missed her birthday, heavy guilt, then stay in hospital for exactly 68 days, 23 hours and 12 seconds, then for a finale, they step on cat poop, and end up falling in a sewer, and being bit by a rat, that gives her infection, that will kill them on their birthday. Every Lego set he builds will crash to the floor and 3 important pieces will disappear each time only for him to step on one of them weeks later. If he doesn't step on a Lego from a broken build, then it racks up to such a level that he could step on one every single hour. If he chooses to wear shoes everywhere, then they'll end up in his shoe and won't be noticeable until he's lifting something heavy. For them to be caught in a moment of embarrassment for being called out for doing something which not only makes them feel bad, but also causes them to self-reflect, in turn improving their outlook on life and preventing them from engaging in whatever thing they were called out for in the first place, the way they treat people or something. Frozen in carbonite, fully conscious the entire time. Knowing that you are encased, can't move, and knowing that odds are no one is coming to look for you in the right location as you are dumped into the ocean in one of the most unremarkable locations in the ocean. The ocean depths not being able to destroy your carbonite prison, the carbonite keeping you alive. And 5 minutes after you were frozen, your nose started to itch, and now you're dealing with that, and the carbonite is preventing you from having an and your mind won't stop with the thoughts. She really wants a baby. My greatest wish for her is to miscarry each time she is pregnant, but it has to be as close to the due date as possible. Maybe even they already have the baby's room painted, planned for a baby name, and had a baby shower. I want this to happen over and over again. No. She isn't an ex. She's a former boss from about 10 years ago who was probably the worst human being ever. I was hoping my cousin who works in a nursing home would catch COVID and give it to my enabling granddad, but I have no idea if that played out. Part of me thinks a cousin is pulling a weekend at Bernie's with granddad. I've moved on from thinking of how I could do something to just thinking the universe will run its course. This one girl. I want her to get trapped in saw traps for the rest of her life, and she escape each one after another, but it tortures her each time. Then after going through years and years of suffering, she finds an exit to this suffering, but when she reaches it, it's actually a wall that says dead end. Game over. Then she gets crushed by a spike ceiling. It's called karma, and it's pronounced ha f you. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for staying with me till the end. If you enjoyed watching this, you might as well watch these too.